I knew Dizzy, but
Yeah.
I never worked with him. But he loved Basie, and that particular festival, I remember specifically that whenever we were playing, you could look around, you could see, you know, some various people. Sweets would be sneaking around someplace and listening, you know, or and Dizzy was definitely in the back. He turned around. We had just finished playing an arrangement of Basie, the tune Basie.
Yeah.
And Dizzy was standing behind the band listening to it. And when we finished, he turned around. I'm not going to complete the sentence, but he just looked at me and looked at it. And he says, "You guys really believe in this?" Yes, we do. And Dizzy's back there. He had this huge grin the entire time. So he loved Basie. Loved Basie.
Sure did.
And I've worked a lot. I never worked with Dizzy, but I've worked a lot with Faddis, with John Faddis, his protege.
Yeah.
And we've had some fun over the years.
I'm sure, yeah. Well, Dizzy was just such one of the things I appreciated about him so much here was that he did so much work with the youth. He would come out like a week or two ahead of time and rehearse that youth orchestra a lot in preparation for, you know, the festival starting. And he would do the same thing with the kids. If they were playing something he liked, he had no qualms about just look of joy going over his face. But if he heard something he didn't like, then he would just very calmly and sweetly say afterwards, you know, I think, what do you think about this? He didn't beat anybody up. He didn't have any bad words to say. He would just, what do you think about this? It was just so sweet, never discouraging to the kids. They would work so hard. But you've been spending a lot of time over, I know that you're officially retired, at least as of last night, if I remember your Facebook post correctly, or night before last. But how did you end up getting with the University of Texas?
Well, I wasn't. I'm with Texas State University.
Terribly sorry.
That's okay.
A school I didn't go to, obviously.
No problems there. It's down the road about 15, 20 miles in a small town called San Marcos, Texas. And the years ago, I was in between the road. I wasn't working on the road all the time. Excuse me. If you see me going over here like this, my kitty cat had been taking a nap and she just woke up and she found me. And I need to pay attention to her because
otherwise there will be, you know what to pay. Yes.
The two heads of the jazz department at Texas State University were both great musicians, great jazz musicians. And they knew that I lived just on the edges of Austin. And they wanted to know if maybe I could do some teaching. They didn't have anybody doing drum set specifically. And so they called me up and they said, would you mind coming down and doing a few lessons from time to time? This was in 2007. And I said, no, I'd love to. That would be fun. We're not working all that much. I mean, it's not like when I first joined Basie in 1975, we were on the road about 43 or 45 weeks that first year. So that's oh boy, you talk about stamina. But we weren't working that much anymore. So I had some time. And I said, sure, I'll come down. I went down to do a clinic. And then they said, we've got 5 guys who work in our big bands and we'd like you to give them some lessons. I said, okay, sure, I'd like to do that. So I did that for the fall semester of 2007 at Texas State. And they offered me a contract semester to semester. I said, great. Then after a couple of years of that, they started offering me a year contract, 1 year, you know, full time. And I said, great, because I wasn't traveling very much, doing anything. So I changed positions to where I wasn't doing any day gigs. I was working at night all the time. Suddenly I'm not doing too much working at night because I've got a day gig.
Yeah, exactly.
And teaching. And it just became a full-blown occupation. So I got involved in doing the jazz chair and the jazz department for the drummers and the jazz bands, the lab bands, the combos. I even taught combo every year. And I enjoyed it profusely. But then I just, as time goes on, I've had a number of things start to happen to my body, which is slowing me down a whole lot. And I just decided to kind of pack it in a bit, sit around and enjoy
Mm-hmm.
everything instead of busting my behind to schlep my drums down to the club
Right.
to play 4 hours for not a king's ransom.
Yes. Yes. That's a very, very kind way of putting it. Especially with all the equipment you got to schlep around being a drummer. That's a workout in of itself.
So, but it became sort of like a, is he going to or isn't he going to? So
yeah.
I finally decided, yeah, I think I'm going to pack it in. But if I'm going to stop teaching at the university, I really don't feel like playing anymore.
Yeah.
I really don't. The overall fire isn't there anymore. The drive, the music is not there anymore. What I really love and what I want, it's going in different directions, and it's not the way that I go.
Yeah.
Specifically, there are drummers out there who are sensational. Linear drumming, which means that all 4 limbs are doing something different at different times. No 2 things are hitting at the same time. Well, I don't understand that. I can dig it and I love it, but I don't play it. That's not me. Now you got kids who are coming up. They need to learn this because this is a new direction. I don't teach that. I'm sorry. And plus, I don't feel it. I really don't. And things hurt. Let's put it this way. Things hurt now. You know, I put my shoes on and say, ow. So I said, no, if I'm going to give up teaching, I'm going to give up playing, period. And that's the way it is.
Well, I mean, hey, you've done your time, man. I mean, if you don't need it to be able to eat and pay the bills and put food on the table, then enjoy the time with Linda, and, you know, don't push yourself past the point of no return just because you think that other people expect you to. You shouldn't, you know, it's about you at this point, and yourself and Linda, and being able to just enjoy the benefits of what you've worked so hard for. But
speaking of benefits, we talked about this a little while ago. Can I do a plug real quick?
Yeah, please. Cause that's a benefit.
Speaking of not playing anymore, one of the last times I did play, we'd gone up to New York to hear the Basie band at Birdland. And this means a lot to me because one of the earliest Basie albums I got, maybe the 3rd album I ever bought, was Basie at Birdland.
Oh, I didn't know that.
One that they did 60 some years ago. Was it that long ago? Yes, it was. So Scotty and everybody was up there. They were so kind. They said, come on and play a couple of tunes. I said, sure. So I got up and they allowed me to sit in, which was, I think, very, very kind of them. And I played a few tunes and they recorded everything for a whole week. And they put me on a couple of the cuts. So number one, the band is swinging. It's virtual behind off. It's the double CD. And they are just killing. And you've got some guests. Jamie Davis is on here. Carmen Bradford is on here. I'm on here. There's all kinds of great stuff. And I just got this in the mail a couple of days ago and sat down and listened to it. And it just thrills me. You know, that is thrilling to me.
Yeah. Well, I saw Scotty posted that, so I was going to get it for myself, but I'll also put a link on there too, because that's available on the Basie website, right?
I think
Scotty
so.
said that. Yeah.
Butch Miles. Butch Miles on the drums, ladies and gentlemen. Unbelievable. Butch Miles, ladies and gentlemen. Wow. Well, since he's up here, we would like for him to play another one with us. And we're going to feature one of our younger members now. And it's really nice to have younger musicians under the age of 25 that can come and continue this great music. You know, those of us in our 80s can't be here for too long. So, but anyway, we'd like to welcome to the stage now on a beautiful ballad arranged by our good friend Quincy Jones. This is going to feature Mr. Marcus Hollow. This is What Kind of Fool Am I?
Outside of the Ray Sings, Basie Swings, I never actually worked with Ray. And I didn't even work with him then, too. That was a pre-recorded concert that he had done in Germany, and they erased all the background.
Right.
Had Patty LaBelle write new material for the Raelettes and record that. And we took a lot of the stuff and had new arrangers do arrangements. And then they were able to clean Ray's piano and voice up enough that we recorded over top of it.
Oh, okay.
And it's brilliant because it sounds like we were all in the same studio at the same time.
Well, maybe that was what you were talking about then. I know you said something, it was unusual at that time anyway, how that it all meshed in together. So that's probably what it was, what I remember you having told me.
There was a number of writers and a number of arrangers that put the whole thing together, but Ray has been gone for a number of years. And so we were working with just the vocal track and a click track. Somehow, Greg Field and those people at Concord Records were like so brilliant. They were able to put Ray, brilliant genius that he was too, to a click track. And we followed the click track. That was the important thing with me, was to be exactly with Ray, and then the band had to be exactly with me.
Yeah. How neat, though. So interesting. Yeah, the technology. I mean, Hal Smith was talking about some of the things going on with remote recording since COVID and albums they've done and how they have to set it up with all the technological advances, and just, it kind of blows your mind. The fact that
I know.
Piano has to lay it down first and they're completely by themselves, and it's like they have to be playing as though they're playing with everybody, but they're playing by themselves and can't hear anybody else because they're the first ones to record it. It's just insane. But Concord sure put together some good stuff, man. I know that Rosie had worked with them because Jake had brought Rosie and Bing over to Concord there for a while, and some of the best records I've heard, at least that were recorded post, I don't know, 65 or something, have been on Concord. Just such a great catalog they've got.
Oh, incredible. Just wonderful stuff. We did an album with Rosemary Clooney.
On one of the things on there that I love so much was Dave Frischberg's I Want to Be a Sideman. Yep.
Love that too.
Because I love that. Anything, Dave's
I want to be a sideman.
Mm-hmm. Dave's lyrics on that are just so on point for that. It was just amazing. And for whatever reason,
John Otto did a whole lot of the arrangements on that album. And the album itself, the entire album itself is worth the price of admission for one tune. If you're really an old sentimental guy like me, is In the Wee Small Hours of the Morning.
Oh yeah.
Rosemary puts so much feeling in there. And when the band comes in for our 8 bars or whatever it is, it is so heartfelt. We extend what she's singing, and then she comes back in again. You're not going to get Pavarotti at the Met. It's nothing. The vocal expertise, she's not doing somersaults, and it's not the blazing Basie band. It's a moment of true, pure tenderness. It starts at the beginning of the tune and goes all the way through. And that, to me, is worth everything.
Oh, yeah. And it's At Long Last. That was the name of the album.
At Long Last.
Yeah. And of course, I Want to Be a Sideman. And what was the other one? I guess I'll Hang My Tears Out to Dry. That's another one that I just kind of, she just does it just so, and it's so perfect. She did a recording. I don't remember if it was with Dave McKenna or somebody else, but it was just her and solo piano singing Wrap Your Troubles in Dreams. And it's just, and it's kind of at a slow tempo and just one of those things that hits your heart and just kind of gives it a bear hug, you know, just she had that, like we were talking about Lena earlier, there was a certain presence that, and another woman that really appreciated and respected the musicians she worked with, in my opinion, at least, Rosie.
Yes, indeed. Now that was the case in point also. We're talking about Ray. We didn't do the album with Ray, but we had Ray's voice in the whole thing.
Yeah.
Rosie, she was on the phone. We did this at Skywalker Studios.
Yes. Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Skywalker, its own little small village with the police department.
Huge village.
And it's like you could go downstairs from the recording and see the latest technology in video that they're showing stuff on the screens, and it was wonderful. Our recording engineer, I think, was Spike Jones's daughter or granddaughter. I can't recall. Yeah.
How neat.
She was recording the whole thing, but Rosie was on the phone as we would do the rehearsal and do the cut of each tune, so she could hear everything that John had written. She had the music. She came in later on and did the recordings, without the band. We'd already laid down all the tracks, but she wanted to make sure that we were all in sync together with each other. So instead of showing up cold and listening to play the band back, I don't like that. She was at home in Kentucky, I guess.
Yeah.
And John had her on the phone, and she listened to the entire recording session. It took a couple of days. And then later on, she overdubbed her voice to the band. She wasn't even there when we did it. And it's a wonderful album. I love the album.
Yeah.
And she's another wonderful lady. I just love her to pieces. Oh, gosh.
I did too. I told Dan the other day, she could have told me to play in Traffic, and I'd have gladly done it. She just was one of those great people. It's just, okay, whatever you want. I love you. I don't care. But she did something similar on that with the album she did with Ellington, because she was so sick. She was pregnant with one of Joe's kids, and she was so sick that she couldn't get to the studio. So I think Strayhorn came by the house and played her the arrangements or something, and then they ended up recording either a lot later or something like that. I don't know. I don't remember what she said.
I didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah. So she had a little bit of an experience with a remote recording already. But I do remember, because wasn't that when a Grammy thing, that Long Last with Basie, or was that a different album she did that got the Grammy nomination before she died?
I think it was a different album, unfortunately. I don't remember that getting a nomination.
Oh, yeah. She was so proud of that one, though. She was so excited to do it.
We were too.
Yeah.
And we did a follow-up at one point at the Hollywood Bowl. Where she did most of the album. We rehearsed that afternoon. We played that night. I had a couple of photos from it. And somebody told me later that because we all knew, let me see, Rosie's brother, Nick Clooney, who was George Clooney's dad.
Yeah.
So Nick, we knew Nick from a long time ago, but I didn't realize that the night that we played the Hollywood Bowl, George showed up.
Oh.
And I was thinking he was there and I didn't meet him. So yes, he was there, and no, I didn't meet him. He came out to support his Aunt Rosemary.
Well, he really loves her music. I know that she said that one of the I guess he came out here to live with her and her kids for the ones that were still home, because I think Miguel had moved out by then. When he decided he wanted to be an actor and try to get a gig, so she let him live with them.
How nice.
And then she went out on the road not long after that with the Four Girls Four with Kay Starr. I think was one of the first ones they did it, in Rosemary and Margaret Whiting, I think. And he was the band boy, and and Kay and Rosemary would give him a hard time, and everything else. And Rosie was like, "You got to learn sometime, kid." So,
right.
If you can make it with those, as Rosie would say, I'm not talking out of school. If you could make it with those four broads and come out alive, then you're doing okay.
There you go.
But well, thanks so much, Butch, for coming on today. I really appreciate your time so much, and it's always a joy talking to you. Sure wish I was closer to be able to say hi to you and Linda more frequently, but
I'm so glad you asked. I'm sorry that we had for those of you who don't know, we had a little problem. We were going to do this earlier a couple of weeks ago, and it just, the technological gods were just not in the act that day. They
were not
they wanted to
smiling
go to the
upon
beach
us.
or something. No, it was, you know, we blanked out completely. I think we lost everything.
I felt so bad for you because it was at least a 40-minute nightmare that I'm aware of. And I just was sitting the whole time, oh man, he's never going to do this again. So thank you for being so kind and patient.
I thank you very much for having me on the show. Thanks a lot.
Absolutely.
And putting up with my shenanigans. As you know, I have a tendency to ramble a little bit because I word associate, and one idea leads to another idea leads to, I guess that's
what I want. That's why I called you, man.